Councilor Kenner, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Great. We'll get started in just a moment. Good afternoon, everybody. It is now 4:02, a couple minutes late. Apologize for running a little bit late there. And we are going to get the Infrastructure Committee meeting going for today, for the month of March. If I could have a roll call vote.
Councilor Roebuck.
Here.
Councilor Kennard.
Here.
Councilor Peterson. Councilor Sanchez.
Great, we got a quorum. All right. Councilor Kenner, you're going to have to make motions. I know you probably weren't prepared to do that over the phone, but are you okay with that?
That's fine.
Great.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, I appreciate that. So if you, I'd entertain a motion for approval of the agenda and the minutes.
I move to approve the agenda and approve the minutes of the February 22nd infrastructure meeting.
Second? Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Nahar, number 2.
Mr. Chairman, committee, item 2, project updates. What you see on your screen, that's the hot recycling. That's what we're doing this year. We're doing West Pole from Sunset to South Main, which is complete. And they also did South Garden from Marker to McGaffey. They completed that Saturday. They have equipment problems. Hopefully they'll start on East Escalero tomorrow and then go West 19th from Main to Union, and then Union College to 19th, South Union, 2nd to Chisholm. As you look at that, that's 4.94 miles, and we're going to do that and then microservice it later for $1.2 million. I just want to emphasize barely 5 miles of maintenance for $1.2 million as we're thinking budget. What you see there is after they heat it up, they scarify it, and then they replace it down. You can see the old road and the new road. And in hot recycling, all we're doing is scarifying the existing pavement, adding emulsion, AKA oil, and then putting it back down, and again, just a maintenance operation. But it does extend the life of the road. Also, April 5th, we're scheduled to do Nova Chip on Main Street from College to Country Club. We'll be doing 1 mile full width, $622,000. The same process that we did on Southeast Main earlier last fall, if you remember correctly. Okay, facility updates. Mr. Trent Moore.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee members. These are some construction updates on some of the facilities projects that we have going. Carpenter Park. This is all the rough-in plumbing that was going, that was at the beginning of the project. All the rough-in plumbing done for all the features. This is another view of it. This is a control box that has all of the piping and controls that operate each feature. Here's after we poured the concrete, and that was last Thursday. The features are starting to go in, so we're about 90% done. We're currently waiting on a little bit of electrical work done, the emergency telephone, emergency shut-off, some items like that, but other than that, it's starting to come together.
It looks like you're pretty close. When's your anticipated
We're hoping
to hand it over to Parks?
to be done by the end of April. Be ready to be open. The police evidence storage. You have to excuse the picture. This is the best picture I could find. This is the old National Guard Armory building. It was at once the facilities maintenance shop. Gonna be the police evidence storage. As you can see there in the front, all the glass in the front of the building, and all the way around the building, it had a translucent panel about 5 foot up. So all that had to be removed for securing. So here's a picture as they're putting all that metal in, removing the translucent panel, installing our panel. Part of the project was to remove the existing roof and go back with a TPO roof. This is the first third of it, which they completed Friday. This would be the west side of the building. They started on the side of the building today till it started raining. The library build back. This is a picture of where the cast iron was cut out. There's actual 6 wet walls in those 4 restrooms. You can see there all the cast iron piping has been cut out and replaced with PVC. We did find quite a bit of just over the years damage to the studs, so we went in there and had those replaced. There were some studs that had just surface mold on them. All that was pulled out. What you see above that purple there, that is a mold-resistant sheetrock that they're applying. So they've got the ceiling and, or as of Friday, had the ceiling and 4 foot of the sheetrock applied. Try to slow that down if we have any instances like that in the future. Here's another picture of the other side of one of the women's restroom. Those deals you see at the bottom, the blue carriers, those are the actual carriers for the wall-mounted toilet. The picture here just kind of represents a lot of, the children's area was the most affected. The wall on your left there by the Malone room that goes down there, a lot of it's glass, but as it continues down, all those repairs have been done and the majority of the repairs down low. On the right-hand side is one that's pending. You can see it hasn't been painted, hasn't had the final sanding, but kind of gives you a good illustration of what they had to do to get to that point. That's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Any questions?
I'm sorry, I stand for questions.
How are we feeling with this as far as getting this project done?
The library's moving along. I'm hoping to have a better idea in the next week or two. One of the things I didn't mention, the library roof is in progress as well. All the materials showed up on site.
I saw that we had that parking lot blocked off.
Yes, we're just currently waiting the state permit, holding that. It was applied for about a month ago, so we've been inquiring regularly. They're moving as fast as they can. I think once we get to about 60%, I'll have a better idea of exactly when we'll be done. I anticipate the remaining of the sheetrock to start this week, and also the flooring and wall tiling to start. Once we get that done, I can really pinpoint a date for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Subcommittee Chair and committee members. Here's an update for the construction landfill of Unit 5A. I just want to let you know, everything is going as scheduled on our bids. Today was the date to receive the addendum for the bids today. However, they were not accepted because they were incomplete. We're moving, like I said, we're moving along at a steady pace with the schedule. I just wanted to note too that some of the bidders that have been coming back to us were having some issues procuring the liner for the cell. So as we monitor the progress, we'll keep an eye on it and we'll let you know what's going on. It seems like we're having some difficulty acquiring it nationwide. I do have Scott McKittrick on the line if you have any questions. And I've also handed out a bar graph for you to see the tonnage for the last 4 years. It kind of gives you a sampling of all the tonnage. So in the previous council meeting, when I presented some of the tonnages, those are only charge accounts, but here it shows, it gives you a good representation of the last 4 years of what's been going on with the cell. And I stand for any questions, and I believe I have Scott McKittrick on the line as well.
Would it be possible for us to get this sent out to us digitally?
Of course.
That would be great. I know that I had some people ask me some questions about this. So obviously the lining issue is would be a showstopper. How, and I guess either you or the gentleman on the line, how dire is the situation right now of the market for that particular product?
Scott, can you hear us? So making calls, talking to the SMA Engineering, we have been communicating with multiple companies nationwide, and there is a shortage. A lot of the HDPE, which is the high-density polyethylene resin that's used to build the liner, comes out of Texas. And Texas, as you know, has gone through some catastrophic weather, especially on the Gulf Coast side. So they're having some issues procuring it. However, and talking to Luis as well, is that, you know, we're going to kind of chug along and see and keep the pressure on the bidders and see if we can get any progress.
Mr. Chairman, most of that, the plastic, easier way to say it, is coming out of Houston.
Sure.
Houston got decimated with the bad weather. So not only for the product that we're interested in, as I told Abraham, all we can do is go ahead and play this out and see what happens. Maybe somebody has enough in supply somewhere that they can get it all put together. There's an 18-acre landfill, and the cell that we're doing is not that big by most standards. So hopefully the contractors or the qualified low contractor will be able to find the source. But until then, we just play it out.
Okay. It would be great if we could keep up to date on that, and I appreciate you bringing it up now. We like hearing about these things before that they've forced us to change plans, but at what point do we develop a contingency plan if this material is not supplied or available?
There can only be one contingency plan. You either have the liner and plastic and you continue with the project, or the project goes on standby at no fault to the contractor, which doesn't help the city, and when it gets full, the only alternative is to ship it off.
Right.
Which you don't want to hear.
No, yeah, okay.
That's why I tell Mr. Chaparro, we just play it out, keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully that the contractors can find enough supply for liner or possibly to get the project started so we could have a place to go interim as the project proceeds.
Okay. All right, well, if there's anything we can do, obviously, there's probably not much, but if there's anything we can do, let us know. Thank you for the update. Any other questions from any on the committee? Good. Okay, where are we at? You know, is there a extra copy of the paper agenda? Because I'm scrolling through on my digital version to keep up with the packet. I should have grabbed one on the way in. Thank you, Liz. Sorry about that. Okay, so now we are action item non-action item, number 4, Mountain View Middle School water line.
Chairman, committee, I was contacted by Christopher Thweet of RISD, Special Projects for them. They've asked the city of Roswell to go ahead and build a water line for a single customer, which would be Mountain View Middle School. Those of you that weren't around, we did the same thing for Barindo Elementary School. And what it was, we built it, designed it and built it, and then we build the schools back for the cost of the water line. Again, it's a single customer. They've asked to do that again. I reminded Mr. Tweet that we would need an agreement, all that kind of stuff. I have been in communication with city management, so as soon as we get those agreements, we will proceed. The picture that you see is from Main Street. We would tie on to our water line there and build a 10-inch water line to Mountain View Middle School. But that is in the county, so they would be charged double the rate once they're in service, but the school would reimburse us for the water line construction. Wanted to give you a heads up, something that's in the near future, but again, just to keep you guys apprised of what's happening.
How long of line is that?
It's about a quarter of a mile.
Okay.
My initial estimate when they requested this, it's been about a year that we first talked about it, it's about 500,000.
What do they currently do for water?
Barindo.
Okay.
Barindo Cooperative. And you know, when Barindo has a problem, many of the schools get shut down.
Right. Okay. Great. Any questions? Okay, if not, next item, utility billing report. This will be the fun one.
And you'll have the finance director, Janie Davis, and Chanel Ray.
Great.
Good afternoon, Chairman, committee members. Chanel and I are here today to talk about the utility billing issues that we've had. What we started with was a timeline. We went live in Tyler on December 9th. From the 9th of December through the 22nd, we worked to correct sewage costs. Cycles 1 through 14 were estimated, so the first cycle that went out with normal charges was cycle 15 on 12/22. In January, it was noticed that the December cycle 18 was missed. That was combined with the January cycle 18. But in all of that, we also ended up holding January cycles 15 through 20, awaiting an insert to explain to the customers what was going on with the water bills. Those were mailed out on December 5th. Those attachments are in a packet that you have. In January, we also had several employees test for COVID and had exposure through the department. Calls were returned and posting of payments got behind with all of the issues that were going on in the department at the time. There were 160 additional training hours that were paid for with Tyler. That bill is also attached. In February, there was a bunch of rates that were not set up correctly. In the system, we have about 185 different rates associated with the utility billing. Some of those weren't set up right. We have special rates out there that weren't set up, so the bills were generating incorrectly. We hired 2 temporary staffs to help. They did the cashiering at the front of the office, and the regular staff that would be the cashiers helped with answering the phone and trying to correct some of the issues that were going on. In March, we found out that we had numerous rates that were wrong. The multipliers on them were wrong. Several meters were still in cubic feet, and addresses came across wrong or weren't loaded in the system at all. Solid waste staff helped correct some of the commercial accounts. Support tickets are in with Tyler, correcting some other issues that are going on. Customer complaints that we dealt a lot with were that the meter readings were wrong. Manual reads were being entered incorrectly into the system. The billers were re-educated on how to enter those rates and to verify the consumption and the billed amount, and not just the consumption. Consumers or customers received bills that had the due date either already passed or was due in just a couple of days. What we did was removed that date from the bill, but when that was done, the staff were putting the bills with an actual date in the system of 30 days out. So those bills were overlapping with the next month. We've changed that and shortened it to 2 weeks. Customers really had a difficulty in the change in the automated system. We found out that you couldn't do set up an automated account without doing it on a computer. On the cell phone was difficult. We did a video that was added to the website. Notices were posted in the paper and on social media offering assistance and detailing payment options. Those are also attached in your packet. We did a training. We actually did some setup for customers, but the turnout for that was very low. Customers aren't happy that the only way to pay online is with a credit card. Part of the reason to move to Wells Fargo would be to move our lockbox and our electronic credit card payments to them, where they can come back to us in an electronic file that we can post to the system, which will remove all manual postings except for people that actually come into the office or people that drop at the lockbox or the drop box outside the building. Things that we're doing to, improve customer service. We've changed the automated phone system to where instead of central control calls going to the billing office and them trying to contact somebody at central control, we've added what central control duties are, which would be any meter issues, any suspected leaks, meter reads or any rereads that need to be done, and any low or no pressure issues that customers are having. We also added an option 5 for IT for username and password resets because they were having difficulty logging into the system. I talked about the Wells Fargo, and like I said, the only manual payments that would be posted would be the drop box and anybody coming into the office. That would free up pretty much a full staff member to help with calls and customer service at the front. The hours of operation were changed as of today to 8:30 to 4 p.m. The last hour of the day, the staff can balance their deposits coming in. They can also return calls to customers and spend some time one-on-one with customers on the phone where they're not having somebody stand in front of them. And that's sort of it in a nutshell. We'll stand for questions.
Thank you for that. So obviously there's a lot of complex issues coming together with this, and the main thing that I want to make sure that as we move forward out of this, because that's what we're going to do, we're going to move forward out of this, is there has to be an understanding among staff that this type of what I would consider, by and large, an unforced error, we can't happen again. And what we have done, not that we just we have to think about this we have a customer base for the water department. Water is an enterprise fund, and we have caused a great amount of stress and duress and wasted time for our customers. Now, sometimes you have things you can't avoid. You have a storm, you have something like that, and those things are unavoidable. But I am, as I look at this, I think is something that with better planning, with better leadership, better communication between departments, we could have done a much better job with this transition from an old system to a new system. Certainly, thousands of municipalities have made this transition before us. It wasn't like we were the first people to do this ever. Certainly, every utility out there at some point transitions their systems. So it wasn't like we couldn't have gone and asked people questions about how is this going to work, how's this going to happen, and but I can't emphasize enough, as a city council, it's our job to provide oversight. It's probably the least favorite part of the job of city council is providing oversight, because we do have a staff. I know the staff works hard to do a good job, but we don't give A's for effort. Unfortunately, we give A's for results, and I can't emphasize enough the disappointment that I feel as a member of the city, of the government, that we cause this much headache for our constituents, and that is probably the worst. It's just the worst thing that we can do, and sometimes, we need to be really careful about, and this is just part of, as we grow up as a city, we need to be careful about looking out and blame this. Certainly we need to understand what the causes were, but ultimately we need to be looking at ourselves and looking at our systems and looking at the way we operate as an organization and saying, how in the world did this happen? As opposed to saying, well, we had this excuse and this excuse and this excuse. See, things happen, problems happen, but at some point, I can't emphasize enough that this was this was a big failure for the city to not be able to manage this transition properly in a way that caused, any transition, there's going to be a little bit of friction, that's fine, but this was an inordinate amount of friction for a department that already has a poor reputation with the community. And I really hope that going forward out of this, that we learn how to and can improve the reputation that the water department has with our community. And certainly, I don't think it's because the people working in the water department aren't good employees, and or otherwise we get rid of them. It's not that I don't think people don't care. And I think that's maybe the worst part about it, because you get people who are we get citizens who are upset, and rightly so, and then on the other side we've got employees who are working hard, and somewhere in the middle we've failed. We failed in making sure that happens. So, I think that's the main thing is that I hope that we know. I really, if something like this were to happen again. Obviously, Joe is in charge of hiring and firing people, but I would say, hey, if we don't learn from this mistake and this kind of thing happens again, we've got bigger issues that we need to deal with. So, however, I do have, that being said, I do have a lot of confidence in our staff and in our leadership that we will pick up and learn from this. So those are my comments on it. I really do appreciate you guys walking through all this material and presenting it and providing it in the packet for us. And for citizens who want to see all this stuff, I do recommend you can get the packets online, and you can get all this information that was referred to. But let's as we go forward, let's learn And I really challenge staff, let's do a better job of making sure that this happens again. And hopefully a year from now, we can really be talking about how the water department had a reputation for providing poor customer service, but now they're starting to earn a reputation for providing great customer service. So, and that's kind of where we want to go with this. So those are my comments. Any comments from any of the other committee members?
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Counselor.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. So, I realize that every time a rollout with Tyler was done, there was a lot of effort and preparation put into that. And I realize that there are unforeseen things that happen, but I was just curious if either probably Chanel, since she had been here during that time, can you tell us how we dropped the ball on this?
Good morning, evening, Chair and Committee. Councilor Kennard, so we did begin this implementation in December 2019. So there was testing pretty much beginning in March of 2020 going forward to the point we went live in December 2020. There were some unforeseen circumstances that we had tested through those parallels that we did not anticipate happening going live. And I think there was just some maybe lack of understanding of some of the capabilities of the system and how some of the processes were going to work as well.
Okay, I understand. I know that you guys worked tirelessly on this for over a year and over that amount in all of the rollouts of each of these phases. But anyway, I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
I want to sort of add a comment to what Councilor Roebuck said. I think for me coming in new and for administration, we see where everything fell apart. One of the things that we have talked about is the fact that we have 20 cycles a month, so pretty much one every day. And when one gets behind, it just sort of snowballs on everybody. And so we've even talked about going in and changing those to like a cycle a week. That'll give them more time if they run into issues, so we don't have something like this going forward.
And I think I understand this, but just for clarification, a cycle is basically just a grouping of a group of customers that you bill on a particular day, like the 15th of every month. And then there's a group that you bill on the 16th and the 17th, and et cetera.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Thank you, then. We appreciate the information and look forward to better days from the Water Department. Thank you. Okay, item number 6. Mr. Nahar.
Okay, before I go on to item number 6, Finance was given their presentation. I received a communication from Souder Miller and Associates. Scott McKitrick was on the line trying to speak to us. And one of the things that he has reached out to the New Mexico Environmental Department, no promises, but the possibility exists that if there is a liner problem and the New Mexico ED realizes that there is a liner problem nationwide, we could possibly do an airspace extension agreement and possibly stack higher on some of the closed cells. And with the permit, it would be able to stay there, or we could stack on top of a closed cell and then have to move it again later. Again, possibilities,
Sure.
but there is a little bit of a
Better options than shipping.
better options in shipping, absolutely. So I just want to share that with you before I go on.
Thank you.
Okay, item 6, bicycle and pedestrian master plan. For those of you who've been in council for a while, in 2020, we did a master plan by Bohannon, Houston, and New Mexico DOT. There was a master plan for the bicycle and pedestrian plan. It was presented, it kind of pretty well died at the presentation. Sometimes that happens to master plans.
It does.
So last month I was called by members of the Parks and Rec Commission, and they wanted to discuss some of the items. When we started discussing some of the items, some of the ideas, I said, number one, there is no funding for anything at this point, but if you want to go after funding grants and that kind of stuff from the feds or from the states, the first step that we have to do is to adopt the bicycle master plan. So at General Services on Wednesday, I'll be making the presentation for a resolution, and we want to adopt it as a guideline, not as an ordinance, but as a guideline which will let us use those ideas, plus also let anybody looking for funding for maintenance of the trails, new trails, or anything else related to that, wayfinding sign, some of the bus depots, anything of the alternative methods of transportation, at least in your funding application, you can reference the guide and you get some points as you're being reviewed. So I just want to give you guys an update because they'll be presented to General Services on Wednesday, and of course you will see it on council on April 8th. And I stand for any questions.
There's certainly and I appreciate this, and of course, I mean, you say there's no funding, we're trying to repair at least what we have. I know that that's an action item that we have coming up here in a minute, but, I think that's one of the things as we, and as we've had discussions with you and with others, just as we talk about road funding and these kind of things where as we mature as a city and mature in our process of budgeting, we need to figure out the things that are important to us and to our community and just carve out saying we have this much percentage of our negotiable budget that we are going to be using to work towards a master plan a little bit each year. We're talking about doing that with some of the different road issues and stuff like that. So I'm really hoping that as we tackle these issues, unfortunately, I think roads is going to be on top, and then sidewalks is going to be under that, and this one's going to be under that. But I think that we can get to this, and we should get to this. This should not be continue to be a neglected piece. Not only does having the bicycle and pedestrian paths, the master plan, being more pedestrian friendly, not only does it help our current population, but it also it also helps attract people here as well. When they come into this town and they see that we have a nice pedestrian path and stuff like that, it's a nice town to walk around in. I think that's an appeal for a growing demographic, and certainly I think there's an economic element to this as well. It's not just it affects, I think, a lot of different ways. So I appreciate it coming back up again. Were there specific groups that approached you in the community? Or just individuals?
It was individual, but they represented a group, and I can't remember the group. It was a walking kids group. I think it was Becky and then Commissioner Joanne Aldrup.
Okay.
And
Okay.
those ladies contacted me. I met with them at the Parks and Recreation office. We discussed this, and I said, step number one, we have to adopt this as council, and then those ladies are going to go try to get some funds.
Sure. Well, we certainly appreciate their involvement and bringing this forward to the staff, and I appreciate you guys bringing it to us. So we'll look forward to see what happens at General Services. Thank you. Any questions or comments from the rest of the committee? If not, we'll move on to regular items. Number 7.
Okay, and this kind of follows the bicycle master plan, because this is a project that engineering put in for a couple of years ago. Nobody was putting in for trails, so engineering took the first step and went after some money. One of the main things that we found out in this journey is that we need about $250,000 a mile for trail maintenance. We asked for about $150,000. We ended up $100,000 short. That kind of leads into where we're at now. We had the first bid for this project. It was at $208,000. We only had $150,000, so we had to rebid it. So what you have before you now is item number 7, consider award of ITB-21-004 rebid. Spring River Trail Rehabilitation Project to Constructors Incorporated in the amount of $159,485.45, which includes GRT. Again, this is the second bid. We did get 2 bids this time, but Constructors was the low bidder, and we checked it out, and basically what you're going to do is fix some of those areas that you see on the picture on the right, and we'll do an overlay. Kudos to Street Department. They went through this trail again 2 weeks ago, and they crack sealed it, so we're ready for the overlay if there are any new cracks that came up since the last time we did it. This project will be funded out of engineering capital improvement funds. It's a little shortfall of $9,000. We'll just have to figure out where we're going to scrounge it, but we'll get it out of our capital projects. And as far as board and committee action, again, consider this bid to go to the April 28th City Council meeting. I stand for any questions.
I don't. Any questions from any of the committee? If not, I'd entertain a motion to the, and I think we've discussed this several times. I think let's go ahead and put it to the consent agenda. We'll see if it stays there, but at least we'll try. So I'd entertain a motion to put on item number 7 to the consent agenda.
I move to recommend approval to the full city council award of ITB-21-004 rebid Spring River Trail Rehabilitation Project to Constructors Incorporated in the amount of $159,485.45 to the consent agenda on April 8th, 2021.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8.
Mr. Chairman, the next 2 items will be presented by Lorenzo Sanchez, Utility Director.
Excellent.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I'm here to present item number 8, the Lee and Deming Bridge project change order. And the photos right there, in the first photo on the left, in the gray, that's the actual part of the bridge project construction. And the blue is where we went outside of that, where we replaced water main line in anticipation for the bridge project to run new main line and move it to the north side of the intersection to get it away from the actual bridge construction. So we rerouted all the water lines. So this is going out of that scope of work of what was called for on the street paving replacement. So we had to do a little bit of additional work to make the tie-ins. On the right picture right there in the red, you'll see that's where we're going to do a full width of the road. We're going to do a micro service on top of the patchwork that they do that's highlighted in the blue. That'll be done after they do the patchwork. So the action requested, ITB 20-002, consider Lee and Deming Bridge Repairs Project, change order number 1, in the amount of $63,121. The Water Maintenance and Transmission Department was provided a change order request by Abraham's Construction in the amount of $63,121. This change order was due to water main line replacement where the street was cut for relocating the water main line for the bridge construction project. And the financial consideration, consider increasing the project cost in amount again of $63,121. And this will be out of the current water maintenance and transmission budget. This item was brought to the Infrastructure Committee to consider to approve change, it is brought to the Infrastructure Committee meeting, that's the committee action, for consideration to approve change order number 1 in amount of $63,121, And we're asking it to be sent to the April 8th, 2021 City Council agenda. And staff recommendation is to consider ITB 20-002 Lee and Deming Bridge Repairs Project, change order number 1, again in the amount of $63,121. And with that, I stand for any questions.
What was the budget on what was the original budget on the full project, roughly?
On the bridge, our current budget's $1.1 million.
Okay. And so the plus side of this is we're going to get some more pavement cleaned up, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? If not, let's go ahead and send this one to consent as well. If I could get a motion unless, do you have a problem with that, Louis, this going to consent?
Not at all.
Okay. Then let's go ahead and, if I get a motion to send this to the consent agenda?
I move to recommend approval to, for ITB-20-002 Lee and Deming Bridge Repairs Project Change Order Number 1 in the amount of $63,121.34 to be sent to consent on April 8th, 2021.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, the roof repair, number 9.
Okay, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, item number 9 is to consider the wastewater treatment plant digester roof repair. If you remember last month, we had this on the agenda, and just in case you're wondering, we brought in a quote from Trent Moore, our facilities maintenance manager, and we understood that was the quote for the low bid, and he brought it to my attention that he just gave us that quote for budgeting purposes for next year's budget. So with that, then he went out and got additional quotes, so we made sure to give everybody an opportunity to go ahead and bid on this, and also to try to save some money and get a lower bidder. And with doing that, we were able to get a bid that was a whole lot lower than what the original proposal was. That's why we pulled it off the city council agenda, and we're back here again with the same item for this month's. The action request, well, let me go with the pictures first. You see this digester roof, it hasn't had any roof repair since 1984. So we got a 37-year-old roof on that. It's leaking through the skylights, leaking on top of equipment. There's holes in the roof, so it's in dire need of repair. We want to get it repaired to stop additional damage from happening, is dripping on our boiler and everything else that maintains our temps and our digester to keep our process going there. So, I mean, it's in pretty bad shape. The action requested, consider approval to award J&J Marcus Residential and Commercial Building for the wastewater treatment plant digester roof, estimated in the amount of $92,227, utilizing city on-call roofing. The wastewater treatment plant digester roof is needed repair. J&J Marcus Residential and Commercial Building has been used in the past at the Roswell Air Center, and they're currently working on the library roof. So it is the same contractor doing that work. The work was requested and quoted in 2019. Due to budget constraints, this work was delayed. Leaks have increased, and it is imperative to get the work done as soon as possible. The budget is available through the current wastewater treatment plant budget. Committee action is to consider recommending to award J&J Marcus Residential and Commercial Building for the wastewater treatment plant digester roof, estimated in the amount of $92,227, utilizing city on-call roofing RFP, and send to the April 8th, 2021 City Council. And the staff recommendation is to proceed with the digester roof repair as presented. And with that, I stand for any questions.
Thank you. One thing that I'm I'm happy about, I was going to use the word excited, but I'm not excited about it, but I am happy about, is that just the ability to go to the pool of contractors. And I just think, because I realize that this process would have taken another, 2 months to get this all the way through council and stuff like that, without that pool that we set up. And so I hope that we continue to have good success with that to move projects forward faster. So I appreciate the staff's work on that and working in that way to bring efficiency to the bureaucracy. Any questions from the committee? If not, I would entertain a motion, and probably would not to consent, just let's send this to full council for discussion.
I move to recommend approval of the award of J&J Marquez Residential and Commercial Building for the wastewater treatment plant digester roof in the amount of $92,227.40 to the full council on April 8th, 2021.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Number 10.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, I'd ask your consideration for the award of RFP 21-004, the second posting. This is a general construction services award. It's a multi-source award for on-call general construction services. We originally had 9 vendors at the pre-bid. We only had 3 vendors submit the proposals, and those are the 3 that we bring to you today. Our plan moving forward is to bring forth a supplemental RFP to try to add more contractors to the pool.
So we're hoping to get started with these 3 and then expand it. Of course, the pool does not prohibit staff, if on any particular project, if you want to put out a separate RFP, we can always do that for any project we want, correct?
That's correct. We can always do an RFQ and an invitation to bid.
Okay. And so, again, this just puts these people in the pool, allows them to bid on projects without having to go through the RFP process every single time. This is kind of what, this is the same setup that we just talked about with the roof thing. This is now adding for general construction services. So, any questions from the committee? If not, I would entertain a motion on this item. Probably, let's go and send this to full council for discussion.
Okay, I move to approve the award, recommend the approval of the award RFP-21-004, second posting, general construction services as a multiple source award to facility build, hallway construction, and white sands construction to the full council on April 8th, 2021.
Got a motion and second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes. All right, non-action items. Number 11.
The Chair Committee, you have the department reports in your packet, and you have department staff available for any questions.
We have any questions from the committee at this time? If not, we will move on to public comments. Do we have anybody here to comment? Come on up, Larry.
Larry Conley, 2815 Encanto. I'd like to speak on the billing fiasco.
Oh, the water billing fiasco?
Yes.
Okay.
I've been coming to council meetings and committee meetings for, I don't know, 10, 12 years. This whole billing and everything, you know, the new meters, goes back years. Were you on the city council when I first started? I don't think you were. Margaret wasn't. No, Lewis was. Lorenzo was here. Jeannie Best ran at the beginning, she was head of the infrastructure. I think we're going back to 2016 or 2017. And I mean, that took, just to get it approved, the meters, I don't know. 6, 9.
Correct.
Then we finally got it started getting it installed and everything like that. There have been a lot of people changes. The only one, these guys are the only guys around. That was the problem. Actually, when it happened, we should have realized that, hey, we should hire an outside consultant or a citizen who's financial, who can run the whole thing through for the next 5 years or whatever it takes. We didn't have that. And I don't know. When did it come? What? 3 years ago. How long did it take him to get? So that's, I think, I'm hoping the citizens of this city will realize that we made a mistake back in 2016, 2017, and we shouldn't look at our present people and say, hey, you screwed up. Forgot. We had the Taylor system. We're going to install that. So, lesson learned, hire a person to ramrod it for the 5 years it would take. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Thanks, Larry.
If not,
Can you hear me on the computer?
yes, we have somebody online. State your name.
Yes, I am live here in Roswell. I've been a customer of the city water for 20 plus years now.
Can I get you to state your
And I have
name for the record, please?
Okay, and I have never had such issues.
Ma'am,
my screen.
ma'am, I'm sorry. Could I get you to state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Linda Gonzalez. My address is 637 East Apple in Roswell, New Mexico, 88201. And like I said, I have never had so many issues in my life since they put in these new meters. I had a lot of billing problems, double bills back when the meters were put in. Now, again, with the system being changed over, I went in to pay a large bill back in November of 2019, which was, of course, bills that had stacked up due to non-payment. So when you're billed, it has on there that these are your arreared charges for past bills. Okay, I paid over $200 in November. Come December, I paid another $120 because they were still charging me at $216 again. I went again this month, the beginning of this month, and asked them, why do you keep billing me over for the same charges I've already paid? And they want to come out with this printout saying, well, the month of June and July wasn't paid, but yet I have the receipt right here from November 2019 saying I paid all those arrears, black and white, a receipt saying I paid that. My balance is $54, and you're still charging me over and over for these charges because your billing system is faulty? I mean, this really needs to get corrected. And I want to know what y'all's plans are to do to fix that for the community of Roswell, because I know I am not the only one with these issues. Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Would you like to add anything to your comment?
No, I am done.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate your participation. Anybody else online that would like to make a comment before we end the meeting? If not, then we will be adjourned. Next meeting is April 26th. Thank you.